Top of the morning, good afternoon, hello, and welcome to all the wonderful listeners out there. Dermot Butterly here, My Better Life podcast. Today, we've got a very cool, very interesting individual, a real estate agent. Rudolph Trent is here all the way from Northern California, Santa Rosa, Northern California. Now, we're going to be talking about something that I don't think gets talked about enough. It's one of the biggest decisions of our lives. Buying a home or selling a home, which usually leads to another buying a home. And it's probably one of the biggest emotional and financial decisions that we make in our lives. And so today I thought I'd bring in an expert, someone who I have had direct experience with, and find him to be a very integrity-filled gentleman, somebody that you could just trust, know, and like as a real estate agent and as a human being. To talk about, we decided we come up with the 10 most asked questions about buying and selling a home. So please put your virtual hands together. Rudolph Trent is in the house. Rudolph, how are you, sir?
Really good. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How's the weather out there in Santa Rosa, California?
Well, right now it's sunny out. It's going to be in the 80s, so it's beautiful.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for being here, Rudolph. As I said, um, and I'm sure you get this a lot working with people that, buying a home is a big deal. It's not like for me, buying a bicycle is a big deal, but buying a home where you're spending half a million to a million or more, it's a big deal for people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Do
That's
you?
why it's a privilege to be involved in that. I'd like to do something important in
Yeah.
people's lives. Yeah.
How long have you been a real estate agent now?
15 years.
15 years.
Time flies.
Wow. And I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you know how many houses and how many people you've served, how many houses and you've helped people buy and sell?
Yeah, I know it's over 160 homes that I have sold and helped people buy.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's a lot of. Now, is that just in the general area of San? I mean, you're not going to San Francisco or a different place like that, are you?
No, mostly Sonoma County, I would say.
Yeah,
So Santa
wow.
Rosa, Rohnert Park, Windsor, Sebastopol, all those cities.
But that must be pretty gratifying. 160 people. I mean, that's a lot of houses.
That's a room full of people that I've helped. That's now that you mention that, I never thought of it that way, but it's fun. Yeah,
Amazing. That's amazing. I mean, because we've all heard the horror stories of people buying a home and it being a lemon, which we're going to talk about in our interview. But before we jump in, Rudolph, I thought it might be nice to ask you a couple of kind of just get to know Rudolph Trent questions. Would you be up for that?
sure.
All right. Well, we'll start with something simple. When you're not selling, buying houses, what do you like to do on the weekend?
Well, I for sure meditate a lot, but that's something I don't know if that's a hobby, but it's more something that I do every day, and I love doing it.
Yeah.
But on the weekend I go hiking. I like to do that.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know many. I mean, I don't know many real estate agents, but you meditate. Wow. Could I ask why you meditate? I mean,
Well, to be short, the short answer is because it makes me happy. I mean,
mhm.
the peace and the joy that comes from sitting in silence and really grounding yourself and letting go of all the worries of the day and all this stuff is I couldn't live without it at this point. I mean,
Yes.
that's what I live by.
Yeah, wow. Um, that must really help you in terms of because I'm sure people come in to you, they're wanting to sell their home or buy a home, and they're probably quite stressed, and I'm sure they kind of throw that into the environment a little bit. So being grounded and being present, boy, that must help you quite a bit.
I mean, there's a lot of realtors that say, I love this profession, but I don't like the drama.
Oh,
But
yeah.
then I say usually, I actually don't mind the drama. I mean, it makes I love to see different sides of personalities and different sides of people, and being able to bring everybody together and getting everybody go towards the same goal. I kind of like it. So, I'm
Yeah.
weird that way.
The next time someone says that to you, I turn and say, what drama? Meditate more, meditate more. Yeah, I meditate in my life too. I started that practice quite a few years ago because I was very, very stressed in my life. And I agree with you, Rulaf. I have found it to be very helpful in just calming the heck down. I think being at peace is a lot more valuable than being successful or having, finances up the yazoo. I think just being at peace. Boy, wow. That's great, Rudolph. What do you, if I may ask, what do you appreciate most about, well, let me ask you this. What do you appreciate most about being a real estate agent?
Well, I appreciate most is the relationships that I build with people
Mhm.
because I'm, like I said, I'm doing something big for them. So you go a little bit deeper. You don't just sell them something and move on. It's something, it's a process. And you really get into the finances, the emotions, and you really get to know people. And I've gotten friends from clients, and that's the most gratifying thing that I feel like I'm helping a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Great way to be of service. Um, I know. What's your favorite book?
Well, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda is my favorite book.
Yeah. And why that book?
Well, it's filled with great stories about his childhood and but also it talks about yoga, and by yoga it's not just how the exercises, but the whole system of yoga, the background of it. So it's super interesting that way too. So it interweaves those that with the stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I've read that book, Rulov. That book actually, I think in terms of spiritual classics, it's on the 200 list, and it's used by actually a lot of uh, philosophical societies as a manual, as an actual teaching manual. So definitely up there. Yeah.
Didn't even know
All right.
that.
What's that?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I knew, we had talked before, and so I had looked up Paramahansa Yogananda, and we were just talking about service. And one of the quotes that I found from him was that, and you seem to exemplify this rather beautifully, actually, is that, how did he say it? Life should be chiefly service. And so I love that you talked about, your work as service. Was there anything else you want to say about that?
Um, no, I love to help people, like and the relationships it builds. Yeah,
Yeah. And
I
it's
don't
a
know what else to
relationship
say.
business, right? It's not a sales and marketing, but I mean, your business is more relationship than it is, a sales business. Would that be fair to say?
It is because I'm much more of a consultant to
Mhm.
my clients than a salesperson. I mean, what am I selling? I mean, selling a house is kind of there's a lot of things you can do to sell a house. It's kind of nuts and bolts, but the consultant part of it is the most important.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wonderful. All right, Roloff, let's jump in and answer these 10 most asked questions. We're going to take five of each. So, just for the listeners out there, my Roloff and I sat down and I said, Roloff, I want us to answer the 10 most asked questions that you get. Five about buying a house and five about selling a house. These are the questions most asked that Rulov gets over and over and over again, because that's really the meat and potatoes in terms of having somebody help you, understand this. The biggest decision you're going to make in your life, dear listeners, is buying or selling a home. It's selling your house. So let's jump in. All right, Rula, first one that we talked about, and thank you so much for taking so much time. By the way, dear listeners, Rula took a lot of time. I didn't come up with these questions. He came up with the questions and tweaked them and set them up for this interview. So thanks for doing that, Rule. I really appreciate. The first question that you get asked a lot is this a good time to buy a house? Now, what do you say to people when they ask you that, Rulov?
Well, I definitely know where you're coming from because especially as a first-time home buyer, you're just not sure. It's a big decision. Do I do it now or do I wait?
Right.
But the most important thing that you should understand about is it the right time is it the right time for your personal situation? Because buying a home is a quality of life choice, right? So are you going to let a changing market determine your quality of life? Well, no, no. You're going to make a choice. I'm going to buy a house because I want this in my life. So that's the most important.
Yeah, yeah. Now, of course, the next question, I mean, that comes is uh, in terms of buying the house, is the finances. So you get the question a lot. How do I know if I'm financially ready to buy a house? What advice would you give to people on that one?
Well, the most important thing about being financially ready is, do I have enough income to support those payments?
Mhm.
So you can typically lenders will let you use 40 to 50% of your gross income towards housing cost. And so that's something that you can kind of figure out. And what is housing cost, by the way? It's not just mortgage. So it's PITI, PITI. So principal insurance, principal and interest is the mortgage. And then you have taxes, not income taxes, property taxes, and then insurance. So those things included in the housing cost. But the best way to really answer that question is to talk to a good lender, because they'll for free. That's for free. You just talk to them and give them your situation, and then they'll be able to help you, determine if you're ready and not just what you can buy, but also what are you comfortable with.
Mhm.
Because you may be able to buy a $1 million house, but maybe you want to reserve some of your finances towards other things in life. So you got to think about those things too.
Okay, wonderful. Now, I'm kind of chuckling here because this next question brings back the memory of a movie that I saw years ago with Tom Hanks called The Money Pit, where he buys this house and the house is a lemon. It looks great from the outside, but then when he goes inside and he's, oh God, this is great. And he buys the house, and about a week later, he falls through the floor. And then he's opening up one of the doors and the door falls off. So what do you say to people, Rudolph, when they ask you, how do they know how to buy a house that's not going to have a lot of problems with it?
Yeah, it's a really
Secret
good
hidden
question.
problems, yeah.
Yeah, it's a so I would say let's say three things. I think first of all, even when you look at house, lean on an experienced agent because, for example, I've analyzed 160 homes in my life, so I can see when I see a home, I can pretty much tell which home is going to have problems and which is not. So and before you even pay for any inspections or anything like that, lean on your agent. So that's one. Secondly, do have some professional inspectors really check out the house before you go through with it. So there's different inspections you can do. The typical ones are pest inspection, which looks at dry rot and termites. And then there's also the home inspection, which looks at all the systems such as electrical, plumbing, roof, and foundation. And just have really professionals look at it and crawl into the house. And then there's more specific inspections that you can do if you have additional items you're worried about. But
Mhm. And,
and then
and
the third thing I would tell you is when you go into contact with a seller, um, and then you start checking out the house, and if there's something you find you don't like, you have the right to back out and get your initial deposit back. Or if you choose to do so, hey, this is going to cost me $5,000. You can renegotiate with the seller about the price.
Mhm.
So know that protect yourself and know that you can back out if you don't like something you find.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. And I mean, you've looked at 160 houses, so somebody like you would walk you would go to the house with the person who's thinking about buying it, and you would also kind of put your eye on it and say, okay, we need to do something here. So you're looking out for those things too, probably, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Some things that I see may call for, hey, let's have a heating expert come out and take a look at the heater because there's maybe something not quite right with it. So that prompts you to do, different things, different inspections.
Yeah. So a good real estate agent would be looking for those things as well. They'd be looking for, oh, hey, this is not, we need to check this out or we need to check that out. There's dry rot here or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Now, in terms of the whole, because when I think about buying a house, Rudolph, my brain goes, oh my God, what's the process like in terms of how long would it take for somebody to come to your office and for you to help them find and buy a house? How long does that process take?
Well, there's three parts to the answer. I mean, the simple answer is 30 days.
Oh, really? Oh,
That's the time from when you find a home, go into contract, from the time to the time it closes and you get the keys. Um, but of course, most people are not ready to make that offer the first day. So the second part is, how ready are you as a buyer to be able to make that decision? Have you looked at your finances? Do you know what areas or do you know what kind of home you want? And you may need to look at 10 to 20 homes before you make that decision to make an offer. So in that process, that could be another month.
yeah.
So then basically we're at 2 months. And then the third part that determines how long it takes is, you know, are you competing with other buyers in order to get that house you want?
Mm.
Because if a house is priced competitively, there might be three buyers trying to buy that house, and you might not be the one getting it. So you might have to, you might lose out and start over. And so that takes extra time too. So that might add another month. So I would say overall, from the time you come to my office, 2 to 4 months typically
Hmm.
that you could get the keys.
That's great. That's great. Wow, that just settles me. Because you hear of these horror stories of people, years, trying to buy a house. I mean, what about I know a lot of people, one of the questions that you say you get asked a lot is the commission. What, in terms of if someone goes to a real estate agent, what are some samples of commission rates that they, what's a good commission? What's too high? What's too low? Could you give us a kind of a snapshot of the rates there?
Yeah. So now we're talking about your buyer's agent.
Hmm.
Um, so I can tell you, typically a commission for a good buyer's agent is 2.5 to 3%. Um, so now that gives you a number, and and there might be agents that charge less, but what kind of agent are you getting is the question. But the biggest question of this whole commission thing is who is paying for the commission, right? Are you as a
Right.
buyer
Yes.
paying for it?
Yeah.
Now the rules changed in 2024. There's been the rules have changed about commissions, and so now it is you as a buyer are now technically responsible for paying your agent. But however, in the practicality of the market, uh, in almost all the cases, the seller ends up paying for the buyer's agent commission. And so why is that? Well, first of all, as a buyer, you may not have the extra cash laying around to pay your agent because you need a down payment, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense oftentimes. So then the other thing is the market is such now, it's more favorable to buyers.
Hmm.
So when sellers get an offer, they're usually happy to get an offer. And if they're being asked to pay for the buyer's agent commission, they're usually just going to pay it. Uh, so by and large, the buyer ends up not paying it out of pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'll tell you, this is an education for me, Rula, because we don't learn this stuff in school. And again, as I've said a couple of times, this is one of the biggest decisions people have to make in their lives. And yet there's where are you going to learn this stuff? So I really appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about this because it's a big question. Let's shift gears and talk about the top 5 questions that you get asked, and you're going to answer them for us in terms of selling a house. And we're kind of going to go back to the first question. which is people ask you all the time, is this a good time to sell my house? How would you answer that?
Yeah, that's I get that question a lot. Sellers think, is this a good time to sell? The first thing to consider is this a good time in your personal situation to sell? Because you may have needs that will trump any other consideration. Right? So that's the most important thing to determine. Um, yeah, then there are, if you have the luxury of selling now or waiting, which most people don't, most people just they have to sell now or they have a certain timeline.
Hmm.
But if you do have that flexibility, and then we can talk about market cycles, right? So are we at the peak of the market? Should I sell now or in a hurry, or is the market kind of on an upward swing? And if I wait, I might actually make more money off of my house. So then we can get to those kinds of questions. Um, yeah, so that's kind of those are the most important things to
Yeah,
consider.
yeah. Well, and again, a good agent, and I consider you to be a very good agent. You also do the market report where you send out your video. Is that, and you let people know about the market and here's a good time to buy, here's a good time to sell. So you're kind of up on that too as a real estate agent, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that I used to be an engineer, so I'm good with numbers. So I really like to that's my hobby to kind of analyze the market, and I actually pull out data of the MLS, which nobody else does. I pull out data, raw data, and put it all in a spreadsheet, and put in trends and try to look at leading indicators to see what's going to happen potentially. So yeah, it's important to know the market
Yeah.
because that helps you make better decisions.
And so this is kind of a hobby for you, Rulov.
Yeah, I'm one of those nerds who like spreadsheets.
That's great. I mean, because most people look at that stuff and deer in the headlights, no clue what we're looking at. So it's wonderful. I really appreciate those market updates that you send out. So thank you for that. And at the end of the interview, we'll put a link down below where people can sign up for those. All right. What about in terms of selling a home? I'm sure you get this question a lot. Well, we know you do. People come to you and they say, I want to sell my home, and should I just spend a ton of money remodeling my home, or what should I remodel in the home? How do you answer that one, Rudolph?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a question that I get with almost every seller
Hmm.
who's wondering about that. Um, so let's start with the easy answer. The quick answer is yes. It makes sense to improve your home, put in a little bit of money, and then get a higher purchase price. It makes sense in general. Um, but the most important thing about this is, and that's how I guide my clients, is return on investment. If you put in $5,000, you don't want to just gain, $2,000 in purchase price, right? That's not a good investment. See, my goal is always to at least double your money. If you put in 5,000, I want you to get 10,000 more in purchase price. And so there's different things to consider there. Um, in general, I could say paint and carpet. Those are good return on investment. Um, Then on the other hand, for example, replacing a fence, it's kind of an expensive thing to do. You're probably not going to get your money back out. So I'm going to say, probably hold off on that.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is, it depends on what the rest of the house looks like. If you have a home that's dated and sort of looks a little shabby, it doesn't make any sense to put in a beautiful bathroom, right? Because it's not in line with the rest of the house. But those are also things. So yeah, so walk through with an experienced agent and have them advise you on what makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're not going to put in like a new bathroom and then the front of the house doesn't look good, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What
Those
about now? You
dollars, you can
mentioned
spend those dollars way better than putting a new bathroom in.
Right. Now you mentioned something to me at the start of the interview when we were just chatting. This distinction between home owner and home seller. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, so all your homeowners out there, stop thinking like a homeowner,
Hmm.
okay? You have to start thinking like a home seller. Because as a homeowner, you have things that you think you should do to your house because it makes sense to you. You like it that way. But as a realtor, I come in and say, well, that's nice and dandy, but the buyers are probably not going to agree with you. An average buyer is going to appreciate this more, and they're going to pay more for a house if it has this. And so then you start thinking like a home seller. It's a different mindset, and
It
you have to
is.
learn.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sure, a home is an emotional connection to people. But when you're selling your home, people are not buying your emotional connection to your home. They're buying a house, right? And so
That's right.
that kind of comes into that equation, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, but that's a homeowner, that's not a home seller.
Yeah. A home seller is just thinks, what would the buyer appreciate? How am I going to get the most out of my dollars that I put into the home?
Which, kind of leads me to the next question. Like, if you were to give some people listening there some advice, like how to get the most out of their house in terms of money, how they might get the best price for the house. We talked a little bit about it, but what else would you suggest for people who are thinking about selling their home? They haven't gone to a real estate agent. Maybe they're just thinking, okay, how am I going to get the best money out of the house here? What else would you say to them, Rudolph?
Yeah. So three things to that question. So the first we already talked about, the house has got to look its best.
Hmm.
And that's not necessarily spending money. I mean, there's things you can do, curb appeal, decluttering, cleaning, staging. Those things don't typically cost a lot of money. So those are things. So the house is going to look its best. That's one. Second part is a smart marketing plan. Okay, why is that important? Well, your house is going to be, this usually starts on the internet. The buyers look at homes. So it's got to look great there. And the better it looks, the more eyeballs you're going to get on it. And the more eyeballs you get on it, the more buyers are going to say, hey, I want to take a look at that house. And they're going to come visit. So the more people that come and visit, that gives you the ability to potentially get multiple offers and leverage and drive up that price. And that's
Oh,
why marketing is important.
yes, yeah, yeah. And the marketing comes from the real estate agent. That comes from you, right? Do you help people to market the house, or how does that work?
Yeah, just sign on the dotted line and I'll do all the marketing for you,
Oh,
It's
wow.
kind of, I have a whole system of best ways to market homes. And that is, I built my career around knowing all the best ways to get the most out of a house. So that is my job.
Yeah. Well, 160 houses, I mean, that's proof is in the pudding, Rudolph. It's pretty obvious you know what you're talking about. Rudolph, as we start to wrap
So,
up,
but just about the third point about getting the most money
oh, yeah,
is
sorry,
I want to
please.
say the third point is negotiations. Negotiations is all about um, enhancing your position as a seller or weakening it. And it's all about setting the expectation of the buyer. But the things you say, how you present things, because you want to get that buyer into a mindset of thinking, oh, I'm really going to have to step up to the plate in order to get this house. And so that is some of the principles of negotiation. That is the third part of getting the most.
Yeah. Which, leads me to my last question, Rudolph, as we just start to wrap up here. Now, the question I had that we came up with was, what are the three qualities of a good real estate agent? But I want to tweak that question a little bit. I want to make it a little more personal so that people kind of get to know your values and your structure. So, if I may, um, what are your three values that you bring to the table as a real estate agent, as a father of two kids, and just as a human being?
Well, it starts, yeah, I can say three qualities. So it starts with competence, plain competence as a real estate agent. Competence means, for example, knowing the market, knowing how to price homes, because you can make or lose a lot of money by setting that price. Um, knowing the process of what are the best things to do when you go through the process, and legally protecting my clients from potential lawsuits that the buyers might pursue you after the sale. Yes. So competence is number one. That's one of the things. The other thing is negotiation skills. Um, so that's all about. what to say, what not to say, how to interact with the buyers and the buyer's agent. And to me, it's a game. It's also negotiation also has to do with, your offer. When you put a home on the market, how are you going to manage the offers that come in? I mean, I have a system for that and a process that helps you maximize, uh, the price. Um, so that's negotiation skills, right? But then the third one, and that's to me the closest to my heart, the most important, is integrity.
Hmm.
And integrity means, can you trust your agent to have your best interest in mind when they go through the process? Because there are lots of times that the real estate agent is working and you're not watching. You can't see what they're doing. And when they're working, negotiating or exchanging information, are they going to take the easy way out and get the quick commission? Or are they going to really, put their effort forth and put in go the extra mile to try to get you an extra $10,000 or $20,000, even though it's more work? So integrity is very important. And why is it important? I mean, your home is the biggest asset that you'll probably ever have in your life. And who are you going to trust that with? Selling that asset, who are you going to trust to do that? That's the question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah, and it's very obvious, Roelof, having worked with you, that integrity is at the top of your list. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Roelof, as we wrap up, we've taken some time to answer the top most 10 most top asked questions in terms of buying and selling a home. As we just wrap up our interview, um, is there anything else or you'd like to, is there any extra advice you would give to the listeners in terms of what we talked about here today?
Yes. Even when you just think about selling or think about buying, even before you do anything else, just talk to a friend and see, do you know a good agent? Find a good agent, have a conversation with them, because they're going to point you to think about things in a different way. They're going to point you to, how to think about these things. What are the best decisions? As opposed to you going out on your own and start thinking things and start doing things. You want to have some good guidance.
Hmm.
So I would say, I mean, and that they'll, a good agent will happily talk to you. I would be happy to talk to you, to give you some advice, some pointers, even if you're not even, even if you think, well, I'm going to sell in a year or maybe even 2 years, just have a conversation and see, you know, what things you already start doing.
Yeah, yeah. Be approachable. Love it. Roelof, just last question. If people want to connect with you or they want to find out about you, do you have a website or how could people connect or get that market report that you sent out?
Yeah, so I have a website, rulofdrent.com, and you can go in there and you can sign up for the newsletter that I email out, and it's actually a little video that I do every month about the market. Um, you can connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, or I have a YouTube channel. There's all kinds of ways you can get in touch with me. And then just give me a call, just to have a have a conversation and ask some questions. I'd be happy to, without any obligations or anything like that. Just happy to always talk to people and give some advice.
Yeah, and now on the bottom, I will of this interview, I'll make sure to put all the different links and also your phone number where people can contact you. Roelof, I want to say thank you so much for coming to the My Better Life podcast. I know a lot of people have questions, concerns about buying or selling a home, and I think you've done a really, really nice job today of calming those emotions so that we can kind of look at this not as as you say, a home owner, but just as a home seller or a home buyer. I really like that. That really, really resonated with me today. But thank you so much for your time, Roelof. Wishing you all the best. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Well, thanks for having me. It was my pleasure.
Our pleasure. Cheers, Roelof.